Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date is July 19, 2022. New. Early in June, there was a cyber attack on YouTube. My equipment went away. My channel went away. This is a new channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share. This is episode 347. Russia has HIMARS. The U.S. military reaches their recruitment goal of 96% in the past month, and we'll see how. August. And I would like to say some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscriber, Dr. William Mount, Monkey Werx, Crossroads with J Phillippe, Alexander Mercouris, Military Summary, Gene Decode, Judy, Byington, Plus. And I would like to say welcome back to all 50 states, including Alaska, Hawaii, and the First Nations, Cherokee, Navajo, Hopi, Chickasaw, Mohawk, Apache, First Nation, Pitt River in California, Mohegans, Yakama Nation in Washington State, Potawatomi in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Ojibwe Nation in northern Minnesota, proud people who want peace and justice. Choctaw, Abenaki Tribe, Cheyenne, Massanutten, Pequot, Blackfoot in Montana, Spokane and Coville, Powhatan, Seminoles in Florida, Red Crow Tribe in Kentucky, Salt River Tribe in Arizona. And to welcome back the nations of Canada, England, France, Ireland, Philippines, South Africa, Netherlands, also called Holland, Indonesia, Scotland, Germany, Switzerland, New Zealand, Maldives, Nepal, Norway, Australia, Chile, Thailand, Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Panama, Guam, U.S. territory, Jamaica, an Icelander living in Spain and other people in Spain, Wales in the UK, Sweden, Italy, Puerto Rico, Romania, Bermuda, Bahamas, British territories, Morocco, Argentina, Northern Marianas Island, a U.S. territory, Denmark, Bolivia, Uganda, Iceland, Serbia, Bulgaria, Mauritius, a small island nation off of Africa, and the newest, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Poland, Costa Rica, Malta, China, Hungary, Israel, and Finland. So let's get started. And I've got a Patriot subscribers are bringing forth, talking about the McPherson military base in Atlanta, Georgia. That was one of the locations of the shadow U.S. government and military, and doing the JV studio parts. Okay, we understand from this that it had been taken over. Jim Willie gave us that information, invaded, and the studio taken down. And so my Patriot subscriber says, great, I'm glad to hear that this evil is being cleansed out of the U.S. And I have a Patriot subscriber who says that he or she understands from Restored Republic, which is another name for Judy Byington, as a source, that JFK Jr. has been vice president since 2019. Yes, I've heard that. I have a Patriot subscriber from Pecos, Texas, saying there's no diesel there. And even though Pecos has a huge reservoir of oil underneath it. Yeah. Now I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about the earth changes and so many hours of daylight. I mean, the more you pay attention to it, the more bizarre it comes. And this Patriot subscriber is wondering if the equator is moving. Yeah, that could be. I have a Patriot subscriber. I'll be very happy when the alphabet agencies are disbanded. And a Patriot subscriber who is saying that Ukraine is out of fuel. I have a Patriot subscriber saying, commenting on trying to reanimate Nimrod. Boy, these people are out of it. Okay, I have a Patriot subscriber who lives in the suburbs of Indianapolis. And she's talking about an increase in the military and heavy equipment in this area. And she's wondering if they are moving HIMARS in this area. I have a Patriot subscriber who says, Jetson White thinks the rapture will involve our ships. I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about David Nino Rodriguez interviewed Bo Polney. Now, Bo Polney is a medical doctor. He's retired. Then he became an economist, and he bases his economic predictions on Bible cycles. And Bo said there's going to be an event at the end of September that's not going to be publicized by the prophets. God is going to wake up his people. We say, bring it, Father. I have a Patriot subscriber who lives in Fairbanks, Alaska, and is talking about the days and nights being longer, and also the temperatures warming up in Alaska. Like, typically their winter temperatures go down to minus 60 for a month or so. Now, the last winter or so, they only went as low as minus 40, and that was only for a few days, and then warmed up. I know to us that seems very cold, minus 20 or minus 10, but that's warm in Alaska, and that has an impact too on the tundra melting there. Okay. And she's saying even though Alaska has 24-hour days, now there's less light and more darkness. So we see here in Texas, we're having more light and less darkness, and they're having the same thing in Alaska. So I submit to you, this is some type of earth change. So I'll try to do more research on that. I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about what's going on inside Ukraine, who says that the U.S. military and NATO have troops inside Ukraine, and when they come inside Ukraine, they put on the Ukraine military fatigues. Okay, so now we'll start with some news. So we have Duran is a source that's usually Alex Christoforou. He's a Greek journalist, and Alexander Mercouris, a journalist out of London, and then they usually have guests on. Now, Duran. So they're talking about now Gazprom closing Nordstrom 1. And this has to do with taking oil and gas primarily to Germany, Europe. And what I'm seeing, my analysis of what I'm seeing with this energy and the sanctions by Europe against Russia would have been anticipated by Russia, because they had from 2014 until 2022 to plan for this military operation that's going on in Ukraine. And we know that overcoming enemies in a time of military operation includes also economics. So I believe that part of Russia's strategy, they anticipated Europe would bring sanctions, or they could have even had people planted to suggest that sanctions be brought. And then this culminated in Russia cutting, during this process also, they would have been perhaps giving Europe and other NATO nations good deals on oil and gas to get them using Russian oil and gas, anticipating that when they had the special military operation and they could reasonably anticipate this would happen based on the events going on inside Ukraine with the U.S. government, Victoria Nuland, the coup against the elected president of Ukraine, and the active ethnic cleansing of Slavic Russian-speaking people inside Ukraine that's been going on since 2014. So Russia would have had a sound basis upon which to launch and to prepare this program of also an economic takedown of its enemies. So I submit to you that this has been an economic plan that was long in place by Russia and the White Hats, because we recall Jim Willie also came out with that. Jim Willie's PhD economist from Costa Rica. TPX, Trump, Putin, and Z. And part of the White Hats, leading the White Hats. Yeah. So I submit this economic plan has been in place and now it's coming to be. And also, Duran is calling this a force majeure, yes. And we see also Middle Eastern nations who have a lot of oil and gas not selling to the U.S. or Europe, and they are joining with the BRICS group in an economic coalition. So yeah, that's going on. So yeah, and so now I've been saying, what are the people of Europe going to say to their children next winter when their children are freezing and starving? So it'd be good to get on the ball right now, people of Europe, and take control of your governments and secure your supplies of oil and gas needed to take care of yourself and your families. Okay, Michael Jaco is bringing this out, and I found this very interesting. So, on July 18, yesterday, early, I would say about 8 a.m., Michael Jaco brought out this information. There had been a cargo plane from Ukraine that was carrying 11 tons of weapons. And where do we suppose those weapons came from? Wasn't that the U.S. and NATO? And they had a crash in Greece. And the plane had been en route to Bangladesh. So with the fire burning, it was very bright, and Michael Jaco says it was like a phosphorus fire. So that means on board they had, some kind of type of missiles plus. Now, Michael Jaco is putting forth that this plane was shot down by the White Hats. That would be President Putin, President Trump, Chairman Z, and others, to keep this from getting to Bangladesh to be used against the people of Bangladesh. Now, I find it curious that from this timeline to a later timeline, same day, about 5 p.m., the origin of the plane changed from Ukraine, and Michael Jaco documented it was on a private Ukraine carrier out of Ukraine. But by this time, it had changed to being a plane out of Serbia by the mainstream media. So we see we need to be careful about what we hear. I'm beginning to suspect, and there have been other sources talking about even the truthers on YouTube. You have to kind of sift back and forth. Now, Monkey Werx is talking about the military has obtained their recruitment goal this past month, and they met it. 96% of their recruitment inside the U.S. Now, Monkey is saying that they did this. They were giving a $45,000 bonus to the people actively in the military who were getting to re-up, so they would re-up. And they also extended their citizenship offer to immigrants who are inside the U.S. Yeah, you can join the U.S. military and become an American citizen. So they met their recruitment goals, 96%, and Monkey is also bringing this out that the military is releasing 60,000 active military personnel who refuse pharma for the arm. So we see different things going on, don't we? We see a U.S. military now being made up by immigrants from other countries, don't we? Okay. Now, military summary, a new source I'm using, recommended by the Duran, is talking about Kraken. And this is a Ukraine, part of the Azov group, which is a nationalist group inside Ukraine that actively practices the philosophy of Germany of World War II. Special forces, and what they do is special forces. One of the things they do is they torture and murder Russian POWs. Totally in violation of the Geneva Convention. But hey, when you're an independent group who of a certain philosophy, this group asked for transfers. They wanted to be transferred to the Ukraine 127th or 130th Brigade 2 weeks ago because they realized the Russian military is actively searching for Kraken members. And their requests for transfers were turned down. Now, we find out that 6 soldiers with Kraken tried to desert, and they were assassinated. And it was Jean Jaco who brought us this information that part in every brigade of the Azov, they have a group of 13 individuals who are assassins, and that's their job, to kill the members of the brigade who want to not obey orders or try to desert. Now, also we find out the U.S. military, there are rumors, the U.S. military is very angry about certain things. One is Russia having HIMARS. Another one is, and this is being put forth, the U.S. military is talking about if Russia takes Kramatorsk, then the U.S. is going to cut off money and weapons to Ukraine. Now we find out from, let's see who the source is. The source is Military Summary. On July 17, an entire brigade of Ukraine, the 104th, deserted, but no location was given. Okay, on July 16, we understand Russia destroyed harpoons, and that's a special kind of weapon the U.S. had given Ukraine. They destroyed harpoons in Odessa plus a HIMARS system. Now, this is coming out that there's a video out, supposedly made by a drone by Russia, that shows Russia destroying or taking charge of a HIMARS system. And this is being put up by Atlas Channel. That and also Military Summary, that inside Ukraine there are 8 HIMARS, and that Russia is using different methods to locate the HIMARS. They have spies, they're using drones from Iran, and Iran and Russia have long been allies for many decades. And Russia is also, it's put out as, giving money for HIMARS, and the U.S. military's angry. Okay. Now this is coming out about the inroads that Russia is making into Ukraine. Ukraine forces are going down. They had a first strike that was like on Wednesday, and a second strike by Russia like on Saturday. So these are strikes by Russia across Ukraine. And what Russia is doing, I'll show you. Here's a map. We have Luhansk, Donetsk. This is the Donbass area. We have the front line. And we have Izium, Slamatorsk, and Kramatorsk. It's Kramatorsk that is the headquarters of the Ukraine military in the eastern Ukraine. That the rumors are the U.S. military says if this falls, we're out. So now what Russia is doing, this is the front line. Russia is taking out the Ukraine forces along outside the front line that are like in resting or resupply or like rotation. Yeah. So they're taking them out in this area before they can come in and resupply. And so they had the first strike and the second strike. Okay. And they hit the 92nd Brigade, 59th. They took out the headquarters of Ukraine, 59th in Nikolay. They hit the Ukraine 16th, and they killed 65 soldiers. Out of the 92nd, Russia killed 200 soldiers and took 10 vehicles. They had the 2 strikes on Ukraine 28th, and this was also their headquarters. They took that out. The 13th, the 54th, the 56th, the 16th, the 118, we have a number that Russia killed 60 soldiers, took 60 pieces of equipment and 10 vehicles. Now, Russia has captured, we understand, some of the Kraken. So Russia has captured some of the Kraken members. And Russia continues to shell. They're shelling all over Ukraine and down to Odessa. And that soon, and within a few days, these two locations will fall, Severodonetsk and Soledad. Okay, now, it's been confirmed that Russia does have HIMARS. And so some things are coming out about Russia has HIMARS. Now, some information is coming out about Russia, their ability to take down the HIMARS. Now, this is coming out that have an area of 300 kilometers, which is about 186 miles. And it's also coming out for that Russia is not using conscripts. They're using the militias from the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic, about 110,000. And we know yesterday North Korea recognized these areas as independent nations. Okay, so Alexander Mercouris, a journalist based in England, received an email from India from an intel source that Russia's method of taking down the HIMARS, it's been suggested, or this is part of the strategy. So Russia, to take down the HIMARS, is a software issue, and the pieces have been put together that it was part of Russia's 300 system, and that means that Russia has a package of different systems to take down different missiles. And it's believed to be the Anton 2500 part of this 300 system, on which Russian engineers who are with the equipment need to do software changes so that they can take down the HIMARS. Now, Russia is locating HIMARS inside Ukraine by spies, drones from Iran, and other communication systems. Now, it's believed that in the Severodonetsk Soledad area that's due to or anticipated to fall to Russia within the next few days, there are 20,000 Ukraine military, and according to Alexander Mercouris' soldiers, 80% of this 20,000 of Ukraine military in the area of Severodonetsk, Soledad, 80% have been killed, are retreated, are transferred. Now, and this is coming out that Russia is circling Severodonetsk, Soledad, cutting off supply. So when they finish with Severodonetsk, Soledad in the next few days, they're going to move on to Kramatorsk. All right. Now, it's long been known Russian officers lead from the front of their troops, as opposed to NATO putting their officers in the back. So, General Shoigu, who is the head of the Russian Ministry of Defense, has gone to Donbass in eastern Ukraine to meet with generals, and in particular General Laufin and General Surnavanam, who led the very successful 2-week siege and taking down of the major area Lysychansk just a few weeks ago. And the purpose of General Shoigu going to the Donbass, East Ukraine area now is to meet with his generals to firm up the strategy to take Kramatorsk and to have face-to-face communications with his generals as opposed to electronic, which can be eavesdropped. Okay, now this is coming out inside Ukraine. It's believed there are 8 HIMARS and 4 to come. That would be 12. But it's also believed that Russia bought or captured 1 to 2 and destroyed 3. So the total number of HIMARS inside Ukraine varies. Now we understand also that Zelensky, the shadow kind of leader who is doing some kind of purge, and it's believed this is at the prompting of the shadow U.S. government, the shadow U.S. military, who are angry that that Russia has HIMARS. All right. So they're doing a purge of the government, and this has to do with the Ukraine Intel branch plus what we would call an attorney general who's actively involved with the Ukraine Intel. And they're being charged with treason, and it has to do with some information about the HIMARS and location and transport getting out. So that's going on. Now we have rumors, a lot of rumors. The U.S. shadow military, and the U.S. shadow government are mad about the HIMARS. And they're saying that if Kramatorsk falls, the U.S. is out of Ukraine. Okay. And this is coming out that Gazprom is to cut off Russian oil and gas to Germany and Europe within the next 10 days. And this is coming out. There's been a satellite picture. This is global of crops. And crops are down everywhere except in their yield and in the field, China and Russia, who had plenty of chemical fertilizer. All right. And this is coming out, Russia is actively in the process of taking out Siversk, Nikolay. They're moving on to Odessa and Kherson and other areas. So, that's going on. And crippling Europe and the U.S. actually by cutting off oil and gas. So, that's going on. Okay, let's move on now to sci-fi. So let's see what's happening in sci-fi world. We have Israeli News Live. And I had that recent report, Stephen Bannoon, formerly with the CIA, now has the ministry, but regularly gets updates from the Pentagon saying that Satan was a reptilian. Now, at a Patriot subscriber says, how can Satan be a reptilian? He's supposed to be beautiful. Well, we know he can shapeshift into an angel of light. But we also had a report that was from a Rodriguez who wrote about the Ceres colony, who said he encountered a species that were reptilian, and he said they were very beautiful. It might be Andy Rodriguez. Okay. Now, this is coming out that from Stephen Bannoon, that still there's this controversy about the 40 satellites being taken down. Russia claims they took them down. The Pentagon is putting out, no, it was meteorites that took it down. And also we have, it was, so we had an incoming asteroid, and it had been anticipated with the possibility of causing a pole shift on the Earth. And it went away. That would be the work of God, who can swat things away from the Earth for sure. Okay, and this is coming out different scenarios from the Pentagon, time frames like 2020 to 2030 to 2050. And we know that recently Crossroads J Phillippe reported on the UN 2030 program. So they coalesce. Now, the shield around the Earth has been weakening. Here's Earth. And our magnetic shield has been weakening. And this is one of the areas I studied in college. I was a Life Earth major, and I was interested in this electromagnetic shield around the Earth. And it was weakening even in the 90s when I was going to college. And it's continued to go down in strength. And so there's going to be increased radiation, which will affect crops. That's right. Okay. Now, this is coming out that, the reptilians, and we know, we could come to this from different angles, but at least from a Christian Bible perspective, we can relate to fallen angels, and we know in Genesis chapter 6, the fallen angels mated with humans, and they made hybrids, the Nephilim. That's all in the Bible. Okay, so now Stephen Bannoon says this information from the Pentagon is that the reptilians are terraforming Earth. And I believe that would be correct because they have a different physiology from humans. And they want to change, things on the Earth. And that this, what we're hearing, this Galactic Federation of Worlds is a threat to the reptilians. Now, other sources are coming out now that Earth is going to be given the opportunity to join the Galactic Federation of the World. So even though many of these species have been taken off the Earth by the White Hats and the Galactic Federation of Worlds, plus the Intergalactic Confederation of Worlds. Those species are off. We still have some on the Earth. Elena Kopolnik with Awakening Cosmic Reality, who can remote view, said there are still pockets of these evil beings inside the Earth. And that Stephen Banoon is bringing this out. So Earth to join the Galactic Federation of Worlds in 2040. And it had been my analysis and my determination that global, we will have multiple militaries plus associated industry forever to equal about 25% of global populations on the Earth, because forever we will be defending the Earth against evil who want to come to this very special planet God created in a special way. So, now what we can reasonably look forward to, though, is a golden age coming right up for us, and a time of harvest, preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ on earth and off earth. It's great. Okay. So now the Pentagon is saying dragons. Many of the reptilians look like dragons. And that the shadow CIA, and it's my belief and belief of many other people, that these hybrids we have on the earth, make up a lot of these shadow parts of our government. And Stephen is bringing this out. The Men in Black, which is a division of the ACIO, we found out recently from Dr. Michael Sala, is a division of the NSA of the U.S. government. And the Men in Black, Division 6, when an ET event would occur, they would rush out there and get all the evidence and had some kind of wand and wipe people's memory. Okay. And Stephen says he's learning from the Pentagon that 1/3 of the Men in Black are hybrids. All right. And he's learning that ETs, the reptilians and other species, yes, have a hard time dealing with human diseases, viruses like that. All right. Now, he's talking about... the Pentagon has artifacts that they've stolen away. Not stolen, but they've hidden away, like the Smithsonian is one. And we anticipate reasonably in the near future that a lot of this information is going to be coming out. Now, yeah, okay. So the reptilians, and he's talking about other species, species from Venus and Palladians, other star systems. All right. And that the deep state, wanted to depopulate the earth, but that has failed. And we saw the Georgia Guidestones coming down. Now this is coming out, he's talking about in Greenland, the permafrost melting, and that correlates to that Patriot subscriber's information about Alaska warming up. And it's anticipated that when the permafrost melts, that there would be some new kind of diseases or viruses there. So, and yeah, but we have God on our side. I'm totally confident we can handle this. And Stephen is bringing this out. Yeah, Jesus, who talked about the Sadducees and Pharisees, saying, you are of your fathers, serpents and vipers. They were Nephilim hybrids. Not all of them, but enough. Yeah. Okay, so this is coming out from, I think this is Elena Duran. She had information from Duran, and that has to do with a pilot, Celidion, was a pilot of a ship that rescued Elena when she was 9 years old. And this is new information, also in 2020. So we don't know the details of Elena's abduction in 2020. But this same pilot piloted the ship that rescued her both times. And he had been piloting a scout ship around the Earth. And now he has a temporary assignment on Neptune. And this is to this has to do with mining that's going on in the rings around Neptune. And there are water worlds there, you know, a lot of floating islands and undersea locations. And there it is coming this out, no more combat in our star system. And Earth will officially become a part of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And it's going to require a military buildup. Yes, it will. But it'll be very exciting. Okay. And wars will continue outside our solar system, our star system, yes. And the Earth space or Federation, yeah, more nations will join. And the Galactic Federation, yeah, will join. Okay, we have on the moon new tech, and that's we also understand on the moon is actively being built, the med beds, and we say bring it farther. Now, this is coming out. And she's saying this, time will speed up. Well, we're seeing some kind of change in time in our days, and we can actively see that with our own eyes with the change in night and day. And the more I look at it, it's somewhat disconcerting, isn't it? But it's a wonderful time to be alive. Now we're moving on to Heads Up. And this is Joshua Phillippe with Crossroads. He also has another, like a newspaper, Epoch Times. Okay, yeah. He's saying that, yeah, the crops are going down, and we see that correlates with that information from Alexander Mercouris about the satellite views of crops all over the earth being ravaged, except in Russia and China. Now, and he's saying this correlates to the UN goal of 2030, taking down the population, and that some of the techniques they were using was to pay farmers money not to grow crops inside the U.S. and other locations. But the people are rising up where farmers are being attempts by the government to take down farmers. That's inside the Netherlands, also called Holland, Germany, France, and other nations. The people are rising up and saying, stop this. Now, yeah. And Stephen Benet with Israeli Newsline, yeah, says this is part of the alien agenda, and it correlates to the UN 2030 agenda. And he's saying, Stephen is saying, yeah, their goal by 2050 was to end humans and have reptilians in charge of the earth. I don't think God is going to go along with that. So I think we can put our trust in God. Okay, let's look ahead with Judy Byington. Let's see what Judy is saying. Soon. And we're saying, I'm believing August. Soon, JB out, President Trump in. Because we know that 107 said by September, the states can get rid of all the evidence of that November 2020 event. So, yeah, I think in August. And Judy Byington is saying that General Flynn is in charge, and this is a military operation going on, and there are multiple sources who are stating that arrests are going on all over the earth. And we're hearing more and more mainstream media and other sources coming out talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. And also Pelosi arrest. Now the Pelosi arrest, Gene Decode brought that information out. She was finally arrested in May of 2021 when she was trying to reach a CCP submarine off the coast of Florida. Yeah, and she was arrested. She's been in Gitmo since then. All right, they have doubles and for them. All right. Now, Judy Byington is bringing this out, and we may be hearing this information, and we've been hearing it about nukes in New York City and New Jersey recently. And she's stating that there is some validity to it because Stephen Bannon said the Pentagon is actively trying to locate some kind of dirty nuke in New York City. But the deep state is also trying to scare people with this public service announcement in New York City, what to do in case of a nuke, and also putting up the signs at the malls in New Jersey. But we still need to be praying. Okay. Now, she's talking about Project Odin. That's a satellite system to take down the mainstream media. Now, this is new information. So we have Project Odin. And this is a satellite system that's going to take down the mainstream media. Now, the new part that Judy's bringing out, the emergency broadcast system is going to be global by 10 nations. I had not heard that before. And we say, bring it. We're ready. Now, and 34 satanic buildings will be going down. There will be a stock market crash. Temporarily, the US dollar and the European dollar will have no value. Then we'll go from the worthless fiat currency, not backed by anything of the US and Europe, and we'll go to the gold-backed rainbow currency. Now, she's saying this, there's been a gradual wake-up since 2012. Now, and she's basing that on the Mayans. Now, I studied this. The Mayans gave that prediction for December 21, 2012. But the more modern archaeologists and other people working in this field interpreted it to mean not the end of the world, but the end of an age. And now we're moving into a golden age. Okay. And Judy Byington is saying 2022, right now, final chess moves. Benjamin Fulford had talked about a golden age. And my understanding of this time in our history is a time of harvest. So let's have a short prayer. This is a cleansing prayer modeled by Jean Decode. I remove permission to be in us, on us, around us, on earth, off world, any dimension, any person, place, or thing not of God. Any assemblage of fallen angels, AI, nanobot, and other form of tech. Any non-terrestrial species, spirit, thought form, operating system, genetic overlay, past, present, and future. And we say, get away from us in the name of Jesus. So here's a short prayer. It's based on Isaiah chapter 27 from the King James Version and also the Passion Translation. And the name of the prayer is Burn Down These Evil Altars. O Father, our God, Yahweh, commander of angel armies, we say, wield your sword, strike down the serpent, the dragon of old, crush like chalk their satanic altars, and crush the cultic poles and incense altars. Leave none standing. Destroy across the world satanic symbols, buildings, and altars. Cleanse our land and the world with water and fire, including the area from Egypt to the Euphrates. Woe to the drinkers of the wine of lies who are blind, deaf, and mute to see, hear, or speak truth. God will prevail and protect his people and give them eyes to see, ears to hear, and hearts to understand his truth. And we say, bring it, Father. And we say, thank you, God, the Father, the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.